Well, hello everybody. We are joined this week by the fabulous Dan Bancroft, who I've known for a long, long time.
Hello.
Dan, if people don't know you, would you like to introduce yourselves and tell us about the exciting news as well?
My name's Dan. I've been hanging around craft shopping TV for 15 years with the likes of the other people on the screen with me. And yeah, very excited. The latest project is Hobbycraft TV. So I'm in the green room at the Mo, which we've all tarted up and that.
Mm.
And it goes live on Freeview and YouTube, etc., on Thursday, the 4th of September. So we're very, very excited to be joining up with Hobbycraft, doing their own TV channel. There's going to be, I know we can talk all about the sewing bee, which I'm very excited about as well, but just to quickly get it in there. There's tons, because lots of people ask questions of brands that people will know on Hobbycraft TV, but also Hobbycraft have hundreds of brands that that have never been on TV before.
Mm-hmm.
So some will be joining us from the very start, and most of them will be joining us as time goes on, because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of, as you guys both know, having supplied to channels, there's a lot of logistics and stock levels and stuff to work out. So there'll be an awful lot coming on that people don't know, which I'm equally as excited about.
Excellent. That's brilliant. You've got a mug there, haven't you? He's the only one that's got the mug.
This whole thing,
Ours are in the post, apparently.
yes, they are absolutely. We started with about 50. I think there's probably about 18 now.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
they go walkabouts, don't they? But nevertheless, they're giftables. You
You'll have
guys,
to get a Sharpie pen on the bottom with your name on, Dan.
Dan's, not
Dan, yeah.
Alistair's. You can all have one when you come down.
Thank you.
Thank
And of
you.
course, we're also joined by the fabulous Mr. MacDonald.
Good morning on this bright and very early morning.
It's us, isn't it? It's my fault, I'm afraid. And we may as well go straight into it because you've got some amazing vintage fabric behind you. And
Yes.
I understand that's the giveaway this
So
week.
this is the giveaway. So this is 100% vintage cotton. You won't be able to see it so clearly, but there's pineapples there, but it's very pop arty. So it's 100% cotton. It's 150 centimeters wide, and we're going to give two lucky winners. All you have to do, so we're going to give you a 3 meter mini bolt, if you like. So it's for two lucky winners, and all you need to do is to, you know the drill. You just need to place a comment, even if you just put a heart or a thumbs up or whatever it is on the YouTube channel, and a comment will be chosen at random. So that's this week, that's two lucky winners. And if you do get an email from Kim or a message, it's not spam, you actually have won something.
Right. So I normally leave a message on your YouTube comments, so it's well worth having a little look back if you haven't picked up your name. So this I may as well tell you that from last week it was the pom-pom trim. So the two winners are, we may as well get this out of the way now. Joe McCarthy, I think it's I7D, and Laura Jones 4088. I've left messages for you, so please just email me your delivery details. If people are watching and they haven't got their previous ones, we're in the process, because Alistair's been all over, I've been all over. We're in the process of doing them. You will get your prizes, so that's fine. And the last thing is, it can only be to people who live in the UK, unfortunately. Right, so we'll go straight into this week's Sewing Bee, and all about Art Week. The first thing was the pattern challenge, and it was a baby doll dress. And I have to say that when I heard baby doll dress, I was thinking of baby doll nightie in my head. That was the first thing. The baby doll dress was inspired by Grayson Perry. It had the lovely bloomed sleeves, the large collar and the frill. You were to choose fabric that represented your identity and express your individuality. The fabric, you had to choose fabric to line the sleeves, and you could choose a contrast for the sleeves and the collar. I'm going to go straight to Dan. What did you think of that particular challenge?
I really enjoyed, and I'm so pleased I was on Art Week, because I knew of Grayson Perry, and then over the years he's done a series exploring his art and like sculpture that he likes to do, in fashion, obviously. So I love Grayson. He's a really expressive, as is his wife, right? Like really expressive people. So I was really pleased I was on this with you, and his was the first challenge. I'm really pleased with myself, guys, because I don't know whether anyone watching this or you guys do at home as well. I've marked everyone and put my favorites down, and I'm an untrained eye. I feel like you guys are the experts, and I'm the Amanda Holden here. I'm just I love Amanda Holden, but nevertheless, I'm not a trained eye.
You're wearing too many clothes, pet.
I'd love her waistline, I tell you that much.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it, and I guess technically a baby doll dress is really iconic, right? So from your guys' point of view, there's certain things that make a baby doll dress. So I think even though it was really wide and expressive, like Grayson is, actually, I guess the lines that you're working along are really, really specific.
That's right. So the thing I was going to ask Alistair about, obviously there was a heck of a lot of gathering on this particular challenge. I may have done my gathering in a slightly different way because I think I might have got the overlocker out for speed, because they only had, you know, the whole issue with these challenges is time, and that's the top and bottom of it. So if you can choose to find a quicker way to do it, you can really, if you do have an overlocker machine, you can really successfully gather on that machine without any special feat. You can get a gathering foot, but you can do it without that. And I didn't see anybody doing that. Kit made the comment about he never wanted to gather again. But Alistair, have you got any tips with regards to the gathering, because that was crucial to this particular challenge?
Yeah, I mean, if we do a thing that my son used to have at primary school, it's called chunking. So what chunking means is you break a big project into little projects. So if you think about when you're pattern cutting and you're assembling a garment, if you chunk it down, so for instance, everybody left the hem till last. What I would do is, before I've even sewn the side seams, I would have sewn my hem up. So the first thing that I would do is, and then I don't have to worry about that. The hem is done and it's fine. Also, because you're dealing with two giant rectangles of fabric and you're hemming on one of the long sides, if you're doing that without the rest of the garment attached, you're not sewing into a circle. So you're able to do that. And all you need to do is French seam the side seams to put the two pieces together before you then gather in at the waist. Whenever you're dealing with volumes of fabric, you can do several different things. It's all about balance. So when you're gathering, you don't just gather and then just hope for the best and put it in, because you can shift more gathering to one side and less gathering to the other. So your 4 points are your two side seams, which are this side, which the judges did comment that the side seams weren't matching up with the side seams of the bodice. So those are your two first anchor points, we'll call those. Your second ones, if you pull the fabrics, you've got your two side seams matching up and you pull it all the way flat and you just nip each corner. That will give you your center front, which runs down here. I'll give you the middle point of there, and it'll give you your center back, which is right at the back. Those are your second sort of like anchor points. And then you want to gather into those 4 segments so that you've evenly distributed the weight of the fabric. There's lots of different ways you can do it. We've talked about using the Visaline seam types, which you can iron onto the top of the rim of the raw edge. That will give you some stability when you're gathering it. So it will keep the fabric a bit more soldier-like and upright. Or you can do a double stitch, which a lot of people like to do. You can also put a piece of elastic, stretch it, and then sew it on, and that will evenly gather it in. But I would overlock that seam first, just to keep it all neatly in tow, and then insert it. And then once you're happy with the look, you can also baste it in or pin it. It's entirely up to you. But when they're talking about the little tucks, it means that you haven't quite caught all the raw edges in. When you're gathering such heavy volumes of fabric, the fabric's heavy. So you need to keep that gather seam as flat as possible. That's the trick. You can iron it as well. So iron it flat, that will keep it nice and flat.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, Gaynor, I always go back to Gaynor because I think from a sewing point of view, she is absolutely spot on. And yes, I know this is edited, and so you don't know what the others did, but you could see where Gaynor had actually pinned and sectioned a gathering, so you knew her gathering was going to be all right. The other thing that what did you think about Stuart, Dan? I mean, bless him, he put his seams, his side seams were front and back, and that was, in my opinion, down to time, because he rushed it.
From previous episodes, I feel like timing is a thing that bugs you of how long they're given or not given. And you could tell because who was it? Someone said, one of the judges was like, I've spotted something. He was like, no, you haven't. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that bit. I put down keywords that popped in my head when I was looking at these, and that is obviously for Stuart a bit of just ran out of time. There's so much to think about. For Stuart, I put it was like a faux embroidery fabric. I feel.
Yeah. Yes, it was. It was nice fabric, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was beautiful fabric. As was Gaynors actually. I put lavender, beautiful lavender colours on there. I was particularly pleased with myself because like Yasmin won this round, right? She got first there, and I wrote down very Grayson Perry, and it's really, and then I circled it because the judges put yes, and I was like, oh, well done me.
Stop.
Yeah, I just wonder how much of the judging is, do you meet the brief of Grayson Perry-esque, or is it the perfect baby doll dress? I don't know how they. Maybe it's just but as far as the brief goes, I loved Yasmin, so I agreed with her.
That word brief is something that has come up because when we had the Versace week, Kaz's dress was amazing, but to me it looked more like the Wizard of Oz and was the least Versace looking dress I've ever seen. This week, I think the word brief really came into it, not only in this challenge, but particularly in the final challenge, because it was one of the statements that were made by the judges that Stuart hadn't fulfilled the brief. And I just thought, we've discussed this many a time, haven't we, Alistair, where it's, are we following the brief or are we following an interpretation of the brief?
It's very loose. I mean, this week for me, I mean, it is all in the editing, but for instance, it was all about 1 minute the judges liked the fact that somebody had used contrast, then somebody hadn't used enough contrast, and it was optional. And some people had used the same fabric. Now, that's clever. That because it is a competition, let's be honest, that's clever. Especially if you're using a high density print, which just to you and me is a ditzy print, so it's a small concentration of print in a small area. If you're using that, all your little misdemeanors don't show up.
Yeah,
it's magical on camera. So for instance, if I'm doing a stage show or I'm doing film costume, if it's a background scene, we do not pay as much attention to those costumes as possible because it might be in the background. So for instance, when I was doing Dark Shadows, I did all of Alice Cooper's bondage suits. So the actual proper actors are only brought in for maybe 4 days of filming. And then we have a stunt double who is a body double for that particular actor. So whenever there's crowd scenes and like a bar scene and they're supposed to be in that, that's not the actual actor. That is a body double who is in the back. The costume we don't always finish things because we're not paying for that. So it's very clever when they were doing that. Gaynor, a very, very quick thing. She just needed to change the Peter Pan collar that she had, and she just needed to reverse the color options because the actual floral print was sitting right on the main body of the floral. It's all about proportioning. Proportion.
Because she got a gap too big at the front because she was concerned it hadn't met at the back. In hindsight, it would have been better to make sure that the front was absolutely spot on, and then the back may not have been picked up by the judges. It wouldn't have been as obvious. Dan, did you have it? I mean, obviously you've mentioned Yasmin already. Hers was a directional print, which again was another added thing to think about, that you don't get your faces all upside down. Did you have a particular favourite? Because you said you marked them in order, so I'm interested.
Well, I just put my favourite, which was Yasmin. I just, because it hit Grayson Perry, and I watched all of his previous series, and I thought that he would just love that, and I could imagine Grayson wearing that. Which is why I really, and interestingly, with Allers, and I'm not doing it justice, I know, but I wrote the word panto down because with the fabric, or maybe had a yellow trim around the collar, and I just felt it felt a bit Dame-esque rather than, and it's beautifully done. I don't know. I just that was just the first word that came in my head. And I'm probably not doing it justice at all. So partly between maybe I loved Yasmin's fabrics the most, but I just
Mhm.
thought the Grace and Perry thing just stuck out to me straight away. So that's all I put. Very Grace and Perry. And then I circled it because the judges did, and I was like, oh, I'm in.
So in this particular challenge, obviously Yasmin won. Kit was second. He had the paint effect one. Third was Kaz, who used the same fabrics. That was the abstract fabric, but she was criticised because she had some tucks in the gathering. Fourth was Ola, which was the one with the yellow collar. Our side seams weren't lined up, and Alistair, I think you've addressed that. Fifth was Gaynor. That was down to the gap on the front. And sixth was Stuart, who had that lovely large floral, and his was because his side seams were actually front and back. Alistair, did you agree with the judges this time?
Yeah, I did. I mean, look, we're narrowing it down now. We're half. Well, we've just, because the show's aired, we're now just over the halfway mark, if you like. So they are going to pick up on really small details. For instance, not matching side seams.
Mm-hmm.
That at this point, that's a big no. But you're splitting feathers here. It's not. I mean, for instance, that ruffle into the collar, to actually get that to sit in, I thought they all did a sterling job, because that's not always an easy thing to do, especially when you're working on a curve. Because if you don't get that bang on and sitting it in right, you can be too short with a ruffle on one point because you've taken too much seam allowance when you're sewing it. So that all the collars, they spent a lot of time on the collars. So fair play to them. But no, I did agree with the decision. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Well, we're going to move on to our favourite challenge. That's tongue in cheek, I have to say, which is the transformation. Exactly. I loved Gina's comment on this one, because she said, we've been given a load of dirty clothes. She was struggling to even use them. They were given painters' clothes, so there were smocks, overalls, etc. And they were asked to create an asymmetric garment. The judges wanted them to consider where they put the paint in respect of the garment. They could have one sleeve, one shoulder, or just all the paint on one of the sides. And they wanted to see an interesting silhouette. I was with Gaynor on this one. Dirty clothes. There's no way I would be wanting to deal with that.
Like, the one about the paint, like, you got to consider where you're popping the paint. Like,
yeah,
I think that's completely irrelevant, because whatever you created, oh yeah, that's where I was putting my paint. Like,
I know.
and it is so slapdash and splatter because it's meant to be overalls, and it doesn't matter where they are because it's not a deliberate thing. So it felt like a weird. They've got to put the challenge in somewhere, right? It's got to hit the art week, and it's very literal in that sense. But yeah, I feel like when some of them saw it, they were a bit like, "What am I going to do? What am I going to do?"
Yeah, because again, and we've asked previous contestants, it is a race to the rack to grab the best, whether it be this, whether it be the tents or whatever. So whatever you're left with, if you're slow off the mark, if you haven't got your elbows out, that's what you're left with. And I think it was Stuart who I thought he did a really good job with he used the cuffs in the shoulders, but his was not as bright as the others. But that was because what he picked, or what was potentially left, was a darker blue, and maybe the paint didn't. Maybe that painter was using navy at the time.
I'm going to run around to make the lights come back on.
All right.
There we go.
They got oh, well done, Dan.
Got my legs out for you there as well.
I know.
Oh, that, yeah.
Oh, we haven't had that before. That's a first, Kim.
There you go. Yeah, thank you very much. About the floor.
So, did you struggle with this particular challenge then, or did you, Dan? What did you think?
It was just a bit underwhelming, and again, I've got no skills whatsoever, so I can't really pass judgment. But with Stuart's one, I put the word safe. I put safe. Clearly clever touches, but not for my eye. Yeah, they pointed out the little extra bits, but as far as just a garment, I was like, well, I don't know what it was really.
Yeah.
Yeah, with gainers, I put cool buckle, which then I think Esme brought up on as well, which was well popped together. Kit, though, who came second, I know you're going to go through it, but who came second in the challenge, I put Mad Max. I felt like Kit's fabric and how it finished felt quite flamboyant and quite expressive of Kit's personality. So I think he's in incredibly well. May I say my favourite?
Yes, of course you can.
I put Orla's as my favorite before the judges did.
Yes.
I just thought it was a
So,
real. I feel like Esme is my kin because she said she clocked it as soon as she walked in the room, and I was the same. Not that I walked in the room, but like I put a lovely length skirt. It looked beautiful, didn't it? Looked
yeah.
like airy, beautiful, designer. So hers was my personal favorite, but yeah, I felt for them all because it felt quite slim pickings, really.
It did. And I would imagine that dealing with fabric that's got the fabric's going to be a slightly tougher fabric anyway. And I think Ola is really clever because she loves that. She's very brave with her top stitching and did those fabulous pleats. And I think whatever she'd been given, it would have looked as fabulous as it did. But also the paint would make the fabric really difficult to manipulate and sew. If it's paint, it's dried on. It's not going to be an easy challenge. Alistair, what did you think?
Well, as you know, I'm not a fan, and I think, yeah, because it was, art week. I thought they could. I mean, look, in previous years they gave them canvases.
Oh yeah.
I mean, thank God they didn't do that again. But literally, painters' clothes. One, yeah, it was a little bit unfair because they were looking for where the placement of the paint was going to be. Now, if that navy cloth that Stuart had white paint on it, then it would have shown up. But it's not going to. And for instance, did the artist use acrylic paints? Because that would have shown the color. If you're using oils, that bleeds into the fabric. So it's a bit of a. Look, it wasn't my favorite. However, I was with Esme. Ola's stood out 100%. Now, if she had done that in Stuart's, would it have been as impactful? No, it wouldn't have done, because it would have been dark fabrics. You wouldn't have seen it from over a room. When you look at them all en masse, there wasn't an awful lot of light fabrics. So she obviously got in there first because it was the most colourful.
Yes.
I thought, though, it was very clever what she actually achieved. And I think, again, like, for instance, when we were critiquing the last season when Luke won, he produced, and again, this was in a transformation challenge, he produced something that could have gone into a publication like ID magazine. That is the type of offbeat type of thing that would go into a fashion editorial. So I thought, hands down, really, really well done. But it's that, for me, the reason why that made such an impact was purely and simply because of the fabric and the color that was actually in it. I mean, pleated, very, very clever, not taking anything away from
No.
The rest of the items, though, I just felt, I mean, Kaz's, I think she really struggled this week. I didn't think it wasn't in any shape or form, in my opinion, that there was any conscientious thought about a type of finishing. It was all very raw edges.
She did put some binding on the bottom.
She did, well, yes. It wasn't kind of hidden into the sea.
In 90 minutes as well. That's what I always go back to. I'm with Gina when she must sit there and think, oh my goodness gracious me, what am I going to do? Because Gina really struggles thinking on her feet in these challenges, I think. It because of the time. And also in 90 minutes, you're given this stuff. And
it goes back to what it goes back to what we've said on previous seasons. Is this a sewing critique show, or is it a design show? And they're leaning more and more and more to the inspiration from the individuals. That, to me, you're looking for someone who has design knowledge, not looking for someone who has sewing knowledge. And as John has said, John and I's career paths are very, very similar.
That's John Scott, if anybody's...
Yeah. So, for instance, he's done a lot of film costumes. He worked on Bond film. He's done so much in his career. And likewise, I've worked extensively with Warner Brothers. But there is a difference between being the maker, which is what this show is predominantly about, and you've got to have a skill set where you're producing a costume that is fit for camera or for stage or what have you. But then a lot of these challenges are design led. and a lot of the critiques that we're hearing that's in the edit, because obviously they've either got some producers who are extremely perhaps of a younger generation, and that's what they're trying to output. They're trying to output that message, which for maybe they need to look at the demographic who are actually tuning in, and these appeal more say to the audience that's there. It's a very sort of, I know it's an entertainment program, we can't get away from that, but when they're saying that we're this is for amateur sewers, you've kind of got to have a scoring system that's fair.
Yeah. And I think before we go on to the made to measure, that in between time, when they talk about who's safe and who's not safe, Patrick and Esme had a conversation. They actually said that Gaynor was a fantastic sewer, and Stuart had the ambition and the foresight with his background to be able to put that in. And if they were reversed, or if they had a bit of each other, I think then they would be extremely strong contestants, rather than regularly being discussed as if they're sort of struggling, because I don't think you'll get a better sewer than Gaynor, because she is absolutely spot on with her sewing.
It's almost like they need to have, it's a much longer conversation, I know, a different way of scoring it, right? So on purely sewing skills and your finishing skills and your accuracy, that's out of 10 or whatever. And as far as hitting the brief and design, that's another one. And then you get the average in, whether it's Esme does one, Patrick does the other, or there's a third judge, or I don't know. But yeah, I think it does feel like overall, whichever one is the more impressive hitting the brief one wins. And actually, when they're critiquing it in front of everyone, they're really nitpicking the sewing.
Yes, yeah.
They get marked down for the sewing stuff, but they get praised for the design. It's a tough one, isn't it? But as far the format is clearly successful, and we wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't a brilliant show. But you're completely right. There are, and I guess that's what's wonderful about it, because it causes people to talk about it and have conversation, and maybe that's the point. Maybe that's their aim. That's
right. So we'll move on to the made to measure, which was to be inspired by pop art, and obviously Andy Warhol was mentioned, as being one of the icons of the 50s and 60s. They wanted this particular challenge to be punchy, graphic, witty, gimmicky, and be creative. Quite a wide brief, really, when you think about it. I'm going to go straight to Alistair this time. Thoughts, because obviously you had Kit using paper with interfacing on the back, and then you had others using fabric, and then Kaz using wadding with the quilted look. What was your, come on, give us your thoughts, Pet?
Right, so the pop art movement was a hugely influential period of time. It threw the rule book out of what art is supposed to be. It wasn't the type of thing that you would see in massive we had people like the surrealists, like Salvador Dali, that did the famous lobster telephone and things like that. Art is about creating conversation, and it's all about so for instance, art is doing its job if you absolutely hate it, because it's evoking an emotion. So whatever you feel, even if you think it's the biggest pile of crap under the sun, that is evoking an emotion inside you. And I can use the CRAP word because that's not defined as an actual proper swearing.
Because he's looking.
I can see you all looking. Have
I got to do another oops?
I know. I have got worse in my vocabulary, but I'm obviously demure on here. And yeah, so I think it was a very loose brief, as you said. Pop art, I would have expected. Pop art could have been so many different things, and I would have expected to have seen a lot more of explosion of color. I would have expected to see more graphic representation. There were a few artists where I think it was getting a little bit confused, like Stuart's. Yes, that was very much of the Impressionists era. However, if he had just done a very simple thing, which was color blocking that in primary and using primary colors, it would have been a different story. So we're taking exactly what he did, but we're just swapping out the fabrics. So that would have been a really quick thing. Then it would have been on point. I get the fabric was amazing. He spent a lot of time on those shoulders. I saw the accuracy there. So well done for that. But then you've got other people. I think it was Yasmin. Now, Yasmin's one, that reminded me very much of like artists like Matisse and things like that. So for me, it did not scream. I got where she was going, but it did not scream pop art to me. And also I agree with Esme, the white skirt underneath, it didn't flow, it didn't fit. Another primary color that would have injected an extra bit of punch. So she used an emerald green, for instance, or something like that. It was a bit of an odd one. Ola's, now I really championed Ola in the transformation. This one for me was a complete like no. It did not say anything. It gave me more Priscilla Queen of the Deserts vibes with a mixture of K-pop and a whole load of other things, but it did not say it didn't say pop art to me at all. The only thing that screamed pop art was when the model turned round and you saw the graphic on the back of the actual jacket. So to me, I don't think that hit the brief. The silhouette and the shape to me was too futuristic for pop art. Kaz's was visually stunning. It's very comme des garçons, so it's very high fashion. If you don't know about comme des garçons, have a bit of a Google about it. Lady Gaga's wore in it. They do all these crazy things. They're a bit like Victor and Rolf as well. So have a bit of fun Googling those names. It was a shame about the binding. That binding should have been a simple trim, and that outfit would have been bang on. Was it really to the brief? I'm really struggling with that one.
Alistair, with Kaz's, when I first saw, like, it had the tabs, didn't it? And I thought they were really cool. Actually, I thought it was quite pop arty. And then she got a little bit slated for it. Were the tabs deliberate? Is that how she wanted them? Were they meant to be tucked away? I thought they were part of the design. It was all just a bit flamboyant.
I think the way what she was doing. You remember when in fact everyone of a certain age probably will remember this. So mainly little girls and some little boys, they used to have these pop out
dress your own.
Yeah, so there were so there were paper and they had
way before my days, Alistair. I've read about them in books.
So I do remember that one, but literally that is, I think, the look that she was going for.
It was really cool. I really liked it.
So it was really cool, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought I actually thought she was actually going to win, because I thought it was so different to everybody else's. It was just, but then you look at people like Gaynor, that was very Mary Quant inspired, so slightly edging on the wrong period in time. But it was executed really beautifully. The sewing was absolutely beautiful, and for her, from her journey, I think she actually nailed the brief in terms of doing it a la Gaynor style. And I think
they only criticised her really on the fraying. They would have had the neat edges, and that might have worked a bit better. You can't criticise her sewing.
No, gosh, no. And we've never criticised her sewing throughout the entire process. And I've said, in a workroom, if somebody was actually wanting to employ a sample machinist, she would be way high up the pecking order, because sample machinists are like hen's teeth. And if you don't know what sample machine, so we employ in the fashion industry, we employ sample machinists to make up a sample that we send to a factory as the gold standard for what every garment that comes out of the factory should look like. So if a factory's ever in doubt about how many poppers, but how it sits, how the darts are supposed to look, how that's connected to that, she would be the person that would do it, and I would trust her implicitly. I think I've sort of like covered. Oh no, then Stuart's. Yeah, we've covered that one.
You've covered that. You haven't mentioned the paper one. The
right.
Kits.
So Kits, yes, was very bang on. It was It was pop art. It screamed pop art. It did everything that it needed to. I think, sadly, if Dan had been in on this week, this would have been a challenge that he would have really I think he would have really come into his own with this.
Yeah.
It would have been lovely to have seen what Dan might have done for this. But Kits, it was very bang on brief. He did deserve to win, just because when you look at Kaz's against Kits just, you know instantly where that's come from. You know it's pop art.
What about you, Dan? Because obviously you look at it from a completely different point of view.
Yeah, you know what? As soon as Stuart's dress was there, I just thought he's gone. I think, Alistair, you just said it was a beautiful garment in its own right, but I wrote down beautiful bright colours, but is it pop art? And that's exactly what Esme said. Not for me. And so when I saw it, I was like, oh man, between that and the transformation of the safety that I thought, and then the side seams, I was like, that is just, why wouldn't he just go as stereo? And I guess maybe he thought he was bang on, but just go stereotypical as you possibly can. So when that dress came out, I was like, oh, it's a beautiful dress, but it's just not the brief, if you like. On the other hand, as soon as Kit, now he got slated for that bag, the fashion, cause it's written in pen, and it was a speech bubble. I loved it.
He was going to put that on his dress and he didn't have time. I'm pleased he didn't put it on the dress.
Is he going to put it on the dress?
He was originally putting the speech bubble on the dress, ran out of time, and that's why he created the bag.
Oh, I thought the bag was wicked, and you just listened to him. The point of like quirky, wild, wicked, all these different things. I thought that was exactly what Kit hit. I put it's like a canvas on a dress. When I think of pop art, sometimes I think of canvases. So that I thought was brilliant. The zip it two-piece from Orla as well. I thought that hit it. That's just what I see of it. Interesting. One more thing with Yasmin. I wasn't sure what she'd made first of all, and eventually when they were like a cape, I was like, oh right, it's a cape. I didn't know, even though it was that side face form was bang on. I didn't know what it was. And maybe it's my lack of fashion knowledge, as you saw from my shorts I'm wearing earlier. Zero. But nevertheless, I thought.
I don't think we were looking at the shorts, Dan.
Pardon?
We weren't looking at the shorts.
Okay. Yeah, I love Kits. Straight away, I put even a little heart next to it. I thought it was really fun, quirky, cool, expressive.
The one thing I will say to people though is, because he interfaced all of the paper first, which is fine, please don't do it how he did, which he was ironing it on. You press it on. So you saw him applying all the interlining onto it, and he was ironing it like a shirt. If you do that, when the iron heats up the glue on the back, you're going to swoosh the glue around, and you'll have areas when it dries that the glue will not adhere to your fabric. I mean, most people would use fabric rather than the paper. So just what I'm like with me interlining. Use a pressing cloth, press it, leave it for at least 20 to 30 minutes, and then you're not going to have any problems with it, because over a period of time, I'm convinced if we look at that garment closely, the paper and the interlining will start and come away or bubble. And if you looked, when you saw the camera, you could see little sort of imperfections in the smoothness of it. And I think that possibly was down to the interlining not being pressed correctly.
Just on your point there, that is one thing that I have written down here, is the fact that they did point out about the darts. Now, because he was using paper, that's going to be almost impossible to get those darts points to disappear. So I think he needs to be given a bit of credit because of the actual material he was actually working with. It's going to be stiff. It's almost going to be like origami. You're not going to get away from that. And the more you press it with an iron, the worse it's going to look. But on his shoulder here, where he's been attached in the bias binding, that was all ruffled on one side, which means that you've got drag coming down from one side and you've got too much fabric is stretched on the neckline, and it needed what we call clearing out. So it needs to be shifted up and out. You need to work with the fabric to where it goes. For instance, what I mean by that, If you ever, next time you're at a wedding or just in general on the tube and you're standing behind guys in suits, have a look at the back.
Don't touch them.
Just
Don't,
yes, don't
and
touch.
don't touch them.
Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble in the 90s for that. That's all I'm saying. We won't go there now. But if you look at the back where the collar sits and you got that, you know, where I'm going to call it like the hunch, and then everyone will know. So that small part of the back, you'll see that there's extra fabric that bumps underneath a suit. And that's because it's an off the peg suit and not everyone's body type is. What that bump needs, that bump of fabric wants to go into the collar to disappear. And then if you spend a little bit of money having that done, it will look like a bespoke suit because you've got that clean, fresh line going. But it's all about the fabric when you're making garments. Fabric sometimes tells you what it wants to do, not what the pattern is telling you it's supposed to do. So that's what you, so that's, for instance, somebody like Gaynor who's been sewing for years and years and years, she will have naturally seen something like that, and she might have gone to a class or asked a friend or what have you, and maybe some people might never know, but that is what you technically need to do to make that garment fit perfectly. Because
you could have also used the bias tape around, you could have used bias tape around the neck, the Vliesreen bias tape, which you've got on the website, Alistair, and what that would have done is stabilized it, because the bias tape's got the line of stitching, and that would avoid the stretch. And then when you put your bias binding on, you're not going to have that issue. So if you're doing it at home, if you have a look at the tapes and the interlinings and you apply them correctly, then it's going to make your life slightly easier.
Yeah. If I had been Kit, I wouldn't have used bias binding. I would have done a little facing, which is a bit like an inverted Peter Pan collar, which sits inside the garment, and it just faces, and it just gives you a much cleaner line. Or I would have done a little half line and it just comes underneath the bust. That would have just helped all of that out tremendously. Yeah.
So I think we seem to agree who the winner was. He obviously got Garment of the Week. This series, I don't think we've had anything other than the final challenge so far has been Garment of the Week, whereas in previous series we've had something either from the pattern challenge or the transformation. So Kit obviously got Garment of the Week. He was acknowledged for working with paper, and it was vibrant. I remember Esme saying in one of the editorial comments, why is he working with paper? Because he was just making his life really difficult. Obviously, Dan, you picked it. Stuart going home.
Yeah. I think the writing was on. He just missed bits and bobs, didn't he? Like glaring errors. He had a lot of catching up to do from the pattern one, right?
Yeah.
But I had to write brief in big letters, brief, because that was the reason that they sent him home, and it was because I think that's been a controversial, certainly again this season. So far, I'm only halfway through, about brief. And
it's getting really interesting between Kit coming up with these spectacular pieces, because Kit came basically in the 3 challenges second, first. So clearly he's doing incredibly well. Gaynor, who you have a lot of respect for and say how wonderful she is, actually came 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
First 2, and I know they don't necessarily judge it the same in the made to measure one. So if the judging is to be held up, Gaynor's maybe on the line, but actually from a professional eye, you're like, she's incredible.
Yeah.
So the next few episodes and series is going to episodes the rest of this series is going to be really interesting as to who stays and who makes it.
Who do you think's going to win, Dan? Have you got any thoughts at this point?
Interestingly, I think Kit or Yasmin. Kit, I think his personality is class, and I don't know what he's going to come out with and do. But Yasmin, since you hit that Grace Perry on the head, and clearly she's, even though I was criticizing her cape earlier on, there's just something about her creativity that I really like. So I think she's not necessarily a favorite, but she's my like dark horse, if you like. But I think Kit. What do you think?
Alistair? Because we normally sit on the fence, you see.
Well, we do. I don't look. I'm going to be really honest. Just because of the years that we've been critiquing this, I don't necessarily think that Gaynor is going to win.
No.
So I know. I think I'm quite comfortable in saying that. It's a shame, but also Kit is a very strong contender. He does do different things, although I think he likes a particular silhouette. So I think if they're looking for an all-rounder, you have to be able to show variety in what you're actually doing. So potentially, therefore, I would maybe go with someone like Kaz is also a strong contender. I think it's between 4 of them. So I think Yasmin.
Only 5 left, Alistair.
No, I know, but it's hard. It's sometimes hard.
1 of 5.
One, yeah. I'm using my Mystic Meg thing here. I'm sort of like thinking, I think in my heart, I think Kit is going to win. And I think it's like we've seen on previous seasons. I just think sometimes it can come across as a bit of a personality thing. So I think if a personality was potentially going to win, then I think Kit is a very strong contender. But we have had some surprises in the past. But I think Orla could be a little bit of a dark horse because the editing at the moment, it's showing a lot of faults with her, but that's not necessarily, that's maybe to throw everyone off the scent as we've seen in previous years. So I think it's either going to be, I'm going to say it's either Kit or Kaz.
Kit or Kaz. And I do think Orla has come on a fantastic journey. She's only young. She started sewing in that COVID time from YouTube. I think she is doing really great. So championing the young people. I still think that it's nice at the moment that we've got a wide spectrum of ages as well, which is good. So let's see what happens next week, which is movie week. The one thrills, chills, and scares. They weren't as specific about the actual the things that they're going to do next week. So we will wait and see. It will definitely be one of the 5, Alistair, who left, who's going to win.
Top tip.
Yeah, you
don't put your money on anybody at this moment in time, or spread your bet is what they say, isn't it?
All right, Kim. Well, who do you think is going to win?
Sitting on the fence here, no.
Oh, you cannot sit on the fence.
Come on, Kim.
I think Kaz is going to be there or thereabouts. I'll be honest with you, and I really would love Yasmin to do and Orla. No, Yasmin or Kaz are my 2. They are.
Right, so Dan has said Kit.
Yeah.
Write it down. Right, hang on a second. Dan is Kit.
Dan is Kit.
With Yasmin as a dark horse.
And
Okay.
Yasmin. Yeah.
I have said it's between Kit and Kaz.
Kit and Kaz. And I'm saying Kaz and Yasmin.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So there you are, Alistair and Kim. There you are. I have written them down. We'll see who was right at the end.
Right, should we put a 5er on it? Actually, if Ofcom's watching, we can't do that because that's technically camping.
I've spent all my money on mugs, Alistair.
Oh.
He's bought you a mug. He's got you. He's only got another 18 to give away.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Dan, for taking time out, because I know you've got a very busy week, because it's not long till the 4th of September when you launch on your new channel with Hobbycraft TV.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I really, and by the way, congratulations on this. You've been doing it for a long time, and it takes a lot of dedication and work, and for the giveaways you do as well. I really enjoyed last week. I loved Isla on last week as well. She was fab. So thank you for having me on. Yeah, just so everyone knows what I'm up to.
Yes.
Hobbycraft have launching their own channel. I'm helping with the TV side of it, and that's launching on Thursday the 4th on BEE2025. If you want to see what else I'm up to, this is handy for this. Shop Unlimited Live is my own channel for YouTube and Facebook. Give that a search if you want to see what's going on there. It's not crafty, but you might just pick up a bargain.
Everyone what that's, because to people who haven't necessarily seen what it is, can you explain what that actually is?
Yeah, basically. So I obviously worked on Create and Craft for an awful long time, and Ideal World for a long time. Craft has definitely been my passion and my love and where I've stayed, but I've been friends with a lot of people off Ideal World as well. And obviously there's a new Ideal World and there's other channels people can go on, but a lot of those suppliers, it just doesn't work for them anymore for whatever reason they want to. So I and my business partner Adam set up Shop Unlimited Live, which was just products and people that we want to work with and that we really enjoyed working with back in the day. So we do an awful lot with Kevin Reynolds, who's watch base. He did the Vostok Europe watches. He's a lovely man, and he now exclusively works with us. So we're live every Monday night, 7 p.m. with Kevin. But there's others as well coming up. We've just got some new Kiki Health, which has never been on shopping telly before, but do lots of supplements and certain coffees and bits and bobs that's good for you. So basically, Shop Unlimited isn't craft. It's prices that, because we haven't got the overheads of TV, means that previously things that we've seen in Ideal World is more affordable on Shop Unlimited Live.
And how do people watch it?
Yeah, so it's the shows are on Facebook and YouTube. YouTube, like this, is the best place to go because they live there forever. You can watch them back, but you can view the whole range of all the products on shopunlimitedlive.com. So you can see all the latest watches, but also we've got storage, we've got some fashion, lots of beauty elements too. And there's even more coming in the future with Shop Unlimited that I can't talk about at the mo. But the other studio here that we've got is going to get very busy very soon. So there's a lot going on, but I appreciate you guys having me on, and
thank you.
I can't wait to see you both on Hobbycraft TV, which launches on the 4th, and then forevermore from 7:30 in the morning live. So going to be busy.
What I'll do is I'll pop all the links on, so if anybody does want to have a look, then they can do. So thank you again. Thank you, Alistair. I'm just going to give a little heads up that next week's Natter will be just slightly delayed going out after the show. It'll be just before the one after, because I am not around. So we will see you in a few weeks. And
who have we got next week? Remind me again.
I don't know. We've got Wendy Gardner coming up. I do know that. And we've got Peter Anderson coming up. Peter was actually a contestant on the interior design masters. That's the one with Alan Carr and Michelle.
Brilliant.
Is it a guru? A guru. A guru. And it'll be great to have him on, because having been on another show that's an entertainment show and a design show, to compare and contrast. So that'll be great. And I can't remember who the other one is, Alistair. Don't put me on the spot. So I'll see you all soon, and bye-bye.
Much love.
I'm going to press the button now.